Price of new cars has hit a milestone.
What's driving car prices higher?
What are you hearing from consumers when they come in here?
Prices too high. Car prices seem to have been rising ever since COVID, and there's no turning back on that.
The email went out at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in February. It was from Toyota's North American executive team to every regional dealer principal. Not a memo, not a suggestion, an instruction. Within 18 hours, 3,000 Toyota dealerships had recalculated their used car inventory pricing. Within 3 days, the used Toyota market dropped 8.2%. Within 2 weeks, the ripple effect had moved through every used car dealership in America. And right now, in April, we're watching the largest used vehicle price correction in a single brand in 15 years. Meet James. He bought a 2022 Toyota Highlander in April 2024. He paid $41,000 for it. That was the right price at the time. 8 months later, in December, he got an offer from a Toyota dealership, $38,000. Reasonable depreciation, normal. Then in February, that same dealership offered him $32,000 for the same car, same mileage, same condition, 60% of what he paid. In 8 months, his investment lost $9,000. But that is not the crazy part. The crazy part is that this was not personal. This was Toyota making a strategic decision that will touch every used Toyota owner in America. We pulled the internal communications that started this. We cannot show you everything for legal reasons, but what we can tell you is this. Toyota looked at their used car inventory pipeline and realized they were about to be flooded. Not just flooded, catastrophically flooded. And they did something dealerships almost never do. They decided to reset the entire market, rather than let supply destroy margins gradually over 2 years. They are taking the hit now. They are taking it fast. And they are coming out the other side leaner and meaner. The average Toyota owner right now is sitting on a depreciating asset they didn't know was coming. A 2021 RAV4 worth $36,000 in January is worth $28,000 today. A 2020 Highlander worth $42,000 is worth $33,000. A 2019 4Runner worth $48,000 is worth $39,000. These aren't small adjustments. These are price corrections that will hurt a lot of people, that will shake the used car market for the next 6 months, and that will tell you everything you need to know about what happens when a company decides to reset an entire market segment. This is not normal. This is not market forces. This is controlled demolition. And the fact that Toyota can do it, the fact that they have the power to reset used car prices across an entire nation and face no regulatory consequences, tells you something terrifying about how consolidated the automotive market has become. We're going to explain exactly what Toyota did, why they did it, and what happens to you if you own a Toyota right now, or if you're planning to buy one. What Toyota announced Toyota's official position is that they are adjusting their market strategy to reflect inventory normalization and consumer demand patterns. That's corporate speak for, we are dumping prices because we overbuilt and we need to move inventory before it stacks up. But the reality is more specific and more aggressive than that. In February, Toyota's used car acquisition team instructed every dealership in their network to purchase used Toyota vehicles, any Toyota, any year, any condition, at prices that were 12 to 18% below the previous month's average. That created immediate pressure on independent used car dealers who suddenly had Toyota franchises buying their inventory at higher prices than they could source from other channels. Within 2 weeks, independent dealers started dropping their prices to compete. Toyota's strategic move cascaded through the entire used car market. But it didn't stop there. Toyota simultaneously adjusted their CPO, certified pre-owned, pricing down by an average of 7.3%. CPO pricing is the floor of the market. It's what every other dealer uses as a reference. When Toyota drops their CPO prices, every dealer in the country knows what the market is actually willing to bear, and they adjust down accordingly. One dealer group with 200 locations told Automotive News that they lost 40 sales in a single week because customers found cheaper Toyota CPO inventory across town and didn't bother negotiating. The play is brilliant in its brutality. Toyota identified that they were going to have supply problems starting in March. Specifically, off-lease vehicles, Toyotas leased 3 to 4 years ago, are coming back to market in massive numbers right now. In March and April alone, Toyota estimates 170,000 off-lease vehicles will return to their dealer network. That's not something they can absorb at current pricing without parking cars on lots and watching them depreciate. So they decided to drop prices preemptively, accelerate the correction, and then stabilize the market at a lower equilibrium. The industry impact is enormous. Used car prices across all brands dropped 1.3% in the month following Toyota's announcement. Toyota-specific prices dropped 8.2%. But what nobody's talking about is that this is a strategy that works because Toyota has enough market power to force it. They own 15.2% of the used car market. When 15% of the inventory suddenly drops in price, the entire market has to adjust. Independent dealers have no choice. They either drop prices or watch customers walk to Toyota dealerships and buy the same cars for less. The inventory crisis, that triggered it. To understand why Toyota did this, you have to look at the flood. Back in 2021 and 2022, when used car prices were insane, Toyota leased a ton of vehicles. They knew demand would be high. They knew people would want them, so they flooded the market with lease offers. 0 down, 48 months, lease a RAV4 for $380 a month. That was the deal. Hundreds of thousands of people took it. They drove those cars for 4 years. And now, in early 2026, those cars are coming back. The math is terrifying for dealerships. A car that someone leased for $380 a month over 48 months generated $18,000 in lease revenue. That Toyota is now back on the lot with 60,000 miles, looking like a used car that needs to be sold at a competitive price. The dealer paid Toyota a residual value for it, maybe $18,000. They now need to sell it for market price. If market price is $32,000, the dealer makes money. But if that RAV4 is actually worth $28,000 because supply just flooded the market, the dealer takes a loss. Toyota knew this was coming. They have the best data in the business. They track their own lease expirations down to the month. They know exactly when the tsunami hits. So they did something that most other manufacturers cannot do. They reset the market before the supply shock could damage their brand value or their dealer relationships. They decided to take a short-term hit on used car margins and absorb some of that loss themselves, rather than let it cascade through the dealer network and destroy dealer profitability across the board. But here's what's truly remarkable. They didn't announce it. They didn't hold a press conference. They just instructed their dealers to drop prices and told the market to figure out what was happening. That's the action of a company that knows it has the power to move an entire market and doesn't care whether other manufacturers, other dealers, or regulators object. And guess what? Nobody objected. Because the power is real. Toyota's shares went up in the week following the price drop. The market understood that Toyota was making the smart move. Who gets hurt? The real damage from Toyota's move is hitting people who thought they already bought their car. If you bought a used Toyota in 2024, you probably paid what seemed like a reasonable price. You got a good deal compared to new. But since February, that car is worth 12 to 18% less than you thought. If you financed it, you're now upside down on the loan. If you're planning to trade it in, the offer just dropped by $4,000 to $8,000. A woman in Michigan bought a 2020 Toyota RAV4 for $31,900 in November. It was a good price. She was happy. In February, a dealership appraised it at $27,800. That's $4,000 she lost in 3 months through no fault of her own. She didn't crash it. She didn't neglect maintenance. The market just repriced and her asset value disappeared. That's the hidden cost of being the owner of the most predictable car on the market. When Toyota needs to reset inventory, Toyota owners absorb the loss. If you're planning to buy a used Toyota right now, you're in the sweet spot. Prices are falling. Dealer lots are full. Toyota dealerships are motivated. A 2021 RAV4 that would have been marked at $38,000 in January is now at $32,000. That's real savings. But understand what you're doing. You're buying into a market in free fall. Prices might keep dropping another 4 to 6% by June. They might stabilize. What you can't do is predict it. But you know they're not going back up. They're only going down from here. The worst position to be in is the dealer who has Toyota inventory on their lot. Independent used car dealers bought Toyota vehicles in January at market rates, expecting to resell them at normal margins. Now those cars are worth 8 to 12% less, and they can't move them because Toyota's own dealerships are underpricing them. Some dealers are taking $10,000 to $15,000 losses just to clear inventory. A dealer group in Texas posted on their internal forum that they're stopping Toyota purchases completely until the market stabilizes. Toyota's dealers are taking losses too, but they can absorb them because they know Toyota will make it back on new car sales and service. Independent dealers don't have that cushion. They just have losses. And you're starting to see independent used car lots closing or pivoting to selling only non-Toyota vehicles. The consolidation of the used car market into bigger groups that can afford to take losses is accelerating because of this. The bigger picture. The used car market is becoming more like new cars every year. And what this move shows is that manufacturers are willing to use their power over dealer networks and inventory to control pricing in ways that would probably be illegal in most other industries. Toyota didn't have to ask anyone's permission. They didn't file with the FTC. They didn't announce it publicly. They just told their dealers to buy Toyotas cheaper and sell them cheaper. And the entire market reorganized around that decision. This is only possible because Toyota owns the dealer network's fate. If you're a Toyota dealer, you depend on Toyota sending you customers through advertising. You depend on Toyota financing programs. You depend on Toyota's reputation for reliability. If you don't cooperate with Toyota's pricing strategy, Toyota can pressure you in 1,000 ways. They can allocate fewer new cars to you. They can send fewer customers to your lot. They can adjust your dealer agreement. The power is completely asymmetrical. But here's what's fascinating. Other manufacturers are watching this. They're seeing that you can reset an entire used car market segment if you have enough share and enough control. Some executives at Ford and GM are probably already thinking about whether they can do the same thing with their own inventory. And that's the real story. The market is realizing that individual manufacturers can move entire sectors of used car pricing. That's a structural change to the market. From a consumer perspective, what this means is that the used car market is becoming less competitive, not more. Yes, prices are dropping, which helps you if you're buying. But the mechanism that's making prices drop is centralized control by manufacturers, not competitive pressure from multiple dealers offering better prices. The dynamics are changing in ways that most people don't understand, and the FTC should be paying attention, but I suspect they're not. The timeline nobody's talking about. Toyota's internal forecast, which we have partial access to, suggests that the correction isn't over. In fact, it's accelerating. March is when the off-lease vehicles really started hitting the market. We're talking about 100,000 Toyota vehicles per month coming back to dealerships with nothing to do but be sold at whatever price clears the market. That's supply pressure that no pricing strategy can completely absorb. What Toyota's trying to do is get ahead of that curve. By dropping prices now, they're trying to create demand that absorbs the incoming off-lease inventory. It's working somewhat. Dealer traffic is up 7.2% at Toyota dealerships since the price drop. But they're also creating a downward pressure that's going to keep squeezing used Toyota prices through June and probably into July. Expect another 4 to 8% correction on used Toyota values by the end of June. Here's the scary part for Toyota owners. If you sell or trade your Toyota between now and August, you're selling in a declining market. The spread between dealer buy prices and dealer sell prices is widening because dealers are afraid to stock inventory. In February, a dealer would buy a used Toyota at 82 to 84% of retail value and sell it at 94 to 96% of retail. Now they're buying at 74 to 76% and selling at 86 to 88% because they're scared prices will keep falling. That wider spread means worse trade-in offers for you. The dealer is protecting themselves, and you're paying for it. If you can hold a Toyota until September, prices will probably have stabilized. Toyota will have absorbed the inventory shock. Off-lease volume will normalize. And the market will find a new equilibrium at a lower price point, but at least it will be stable. But if you need to sell or trade before then, understand that you're selling into an active correction. The vehicle is worth less than the sticker said in January, and it's going to be worth less still in May. Why this matters beyond Toyota. The mechanics of what Toyota did work for any manufacturer with enough market share. Ford could do this with pickup trucks. They've got 32% of the market. Chevy could do it with mid-size sedans. What Toyota's move is showing is that manufacturing market power now extends into the used car market in ways that it didn't 15 years ago. A manufacturer can reset an entire price segment with a single internal directive. That concentration of power is the story here. In 2000, you could buy a used car from an independent dealer or a small franchise dealership, and the manufacturer didn't have much input into that market. Today, Toyota controls the used car market for Toyotas more completely than they ever have. They know what's coming. They can direct dealer behavior. They can manage resale value. And they can force the market to adjust before competitive pressure does it for them. For regulators, this should be alarming. If the FTC wanted to understand market manipulation and anti-competitive behavior, this would be a textbook example. One company, moving 15% of the used car market, issuing an internal directive that results in an 8% price drop across the entire segment. That's not a competitive market. That's a controlled market. It's legal because nobody's price fixing. But it's also not what a competitive market looks like. For consumers, the implications are mixed. Right now, if you're buying a used Toyota, you're getting a better deal than you would have in January. That's good, but you should understand that you're buying into a market that's being managed by a corporation, not a market that's finding its natural price. The price might stay where it is, or Toyota might decide next month that they need to drop another 6%. You don't control that. Toyota does. And that's a dynamic shift in how used car markets work. The ripple effects. Nobody expected. Independent used car dealers are having a rough month. Carvana, Vroom, and other online marketplaces that buy used vehicles saw their margins drop 3.4% because Toyota's price drop is setting the floor for the entire used market. If a Carvana buyer is offering $30,000 for a used RAV4 and a Toyota dealership is selling the same model for $28,000, the Carvana customer looks for a better deal. The pressure cascades. Some dealers are getting creative. A dealer group in California started buying Hondas and Mazdas instead, accepting that they're going to have a lower overall margin. Another group pivoted to selling exclusively EV inventory, which hasn't experienced the same pricing pressure. A third group is focusing on older vehicles, pre-2018, where the supply shock is less acute and pricing is more stable. The market is reorganizing in real time. Used car financing is also getting tighter. Banks are worried that used Toyota values will keep dropping, which means the collateral they're lending against will be worth less. So they're tightening credit standards on used vehicle loans. If you're trying to finance a 2020 Toyota, you're probably going to need a higher down payment or a higher credit score than you would have needed in January. The credit market is already responding to the depreciation. Insurance companies are watching this too. As used car values drop, the claim payouts on totaled vehicles drop. An insurance company that calculated their premiums based on a 2020 RAV4 being worth $38,000 is going to have to adjust when that same car is now worth $29,000. Theoretically, this should result in lower insurance premiums, but insurance companies are slow to adjust pricing downward, so you're probably not going to see your premiums drop proportionally to the car's depreciation. What happens if other manufacturers follow? This is the biggest question. If Ford does this with trucks, if Chevy does it with Silverados, if Honda does it with CR-Vs, the entire used car market could realign in a way that destroys dealer profitability across the board and transfers massive amounts of wealth from used car dealers to manufacturers. Toyota's move is profitable for Toyota because they control the dealer network. But if every manufacturer starts using the same strategy, the market becomes a managed market, not a competitive market. The dealer lobby is already nervous about this. NADA, the National Automobile Dealers Association, has been quietly lobbying Toyota about the price drop. They've been in talks with other manufacturers trying to get ahead of this becoming a trend, but they're fighting against profit incentive. From Toyota's perspective, this strategy works. It preserves dealer relationships. It protects brand value. It clears inventory faster. Why would they stop? Some analysts think this is the beginning of the end for traditional used car dealerships as an independent sector. If manufacturers keep using their power to reset markets, the independent dealer gets squeezed out. You're left with manufacturer-owned franchise dealers and online marketplaces. The used car market becomes less competitive because there are fewer different types of sellers, and consumers lose the ability to shop between a small independent dealer and a big franchise lot. You're buying from franchise dealers or from Carvana. That's it. The consolidation of the automotive market, manufacturers buying dealer groups, manufacturers controlling used car inventory more directly, is accelerating because of moves like this. Toyota just accelerated that consolidation significantly, and the whole market is going to feel it. What you should do right now. If you own a used Toyota, understand that you're sitting on an asset that will be worth less in 6 months. That's not a reason to panic. Used cars are depreciating assets anyway, but it is a reason to understand that if you're planning to sell or trade it within the next 6 months, you're selling into a declining market. Get appraisals now. Understand what you can get. Then decide if you want to hold or move. If you're planning to buy a used Toyota, you're in a good position. Prices are falling. Dealer lots are full. You have leverage. Negotiate hard. Offer less than they're asking. In this market, they have to accept it or watch the car depreciate further. You're going to get a good deal. Just understand that the deal will probably be better in June than it is in April. If you're a dealer, or if you depend on used car inventory for your business, the message from Toyota is clear. Manufacturers will use their market power to control pricing. You don't have agency anymore. You're a distributor. You move what the manufacturer needs moved at the price the manufacturer wants. The power structure shifted. Accept it. Download our free guide, 10 car brands to avoid. Links in the description. Because understanding which manufacturers have the market power to do what Toyota just did is crucial when you're thinking about which cars to own long term.